This is Sound and Vision on KEXP. I'm Emily Fox. Miss Grit has released their debut album called Follow the Cyborg. Miss Grit joins me now to talk about it. Hello.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. So talk us through this journey of a cyborg that you're telling in this record.
Yeah, I from a very young age have been just really drawn to movies involving cyborg protagonists, especially female cyborg protagonists. And yeah, I didn't really make the connection that it was that character or the trope of the cyborg that I was really drawn to. But recently, over the pandemic, I started reading some texts by Gia Tolentino and Donna Haraway, and was watching lots of cyborg animes and just got really taken into the world of the cyborg and just seeing how beautiful her story arc can be. And I was just really inspired to kind of write through that character and kind of string in my own emotions and feelings and perspective through her lens. And so that was something that I was really, really inspired by for this whole album. Yeah.
So MTV quoted you as saying that you described Follow the Cyborg as your effort to, quote, explore my gender identity, my racial identity, and realize all the bullshit people are fed in their lives that can skew how they perceive themselves and their identity. Mm-hmm. Tell me more about how this record helped you explore your own identity.
Yeah, I think the cyborg being such a limitless entity was something that really inspired me to kind of take my own identity into my own hands. There's so much that people are born into when it comes to gender roles or, racial stereotypes. There's so much that our environment has an effect on how we see ourselves. And so I was just really, I was really inspired to take my own identity into my own hands and figure out how it was that I felt about myself and how I wanted to be portrayed to the outside world. And yeah, it was a really liberating process for me, definitely.
Yeah. I feel like you're really exploring this idea of gender in the title track of this album, Follow the Cyborg. I'm thinking about some of the lyrics in the song. I'm a living girl, a real living girl, you're a real living girl. But from my understanding, don't you identify as non-binary?
Yeah, I wrote those lyrics maybe in a mocking way a bit, but throughout the past four or 5 years, I was modeling a bit, and I started modeling when I was, using she, her pronouns and identifying as a woman, and it really f***ed with my head a lot and pressed even further the ideas of what society had in mind for me and my gender identity. And so I wrote those lyrics maybe from society's perspective, kind of shouting at me you're a living girl, a real living girl, or you're born to pose, born with clothes. Yeah, that idea of kind of being born into a specific role without being able to question it for yourself was something that I wanted to touch on.
Wow. And then, did you leave modeling because of just that way that it made you feel in terms of, having expectations about gender kind of thrust upon you?
Yeah, it was also just it's a pretty toxic industry.
Yeah, I'm sure.
and I was with an agency that was super progressive. They were very accepting of all body types, of all gender expressions. But even then I was just finding that just the role of the model was something that wasn't healthy for me at the time when I was unsure of, who it was that I really was. So yeah, I decided it was time to take a step back and just be alone for a while.
So I want to talk about another song, the song Like You. It stuck out to me. There's a particular line that I want to talk about. That line is, there's no escape, the world they simulate. They want a hold of you to dominate, and I try to abide so I won't be denied.
There's no escape, the world they simulate. They want a hold of you to dominate.
Break down those lyrics for me.
One of the movies that comes to mind that I was really inspired by is Perfect Blue. And the quote on my poster of the movie is the color of illusion is perfect blue. And, you know, the movie has to deal with realities versus dreams versus people's perspectives of you versus your own. And I started reflecting kind of on the role that the world was cutting out for me and this idea of like society standards and gender norms and racial stereotypes just being basically an illusion that, you know, the patriarchy, the cis white patriarchy kind of creates for everyone. And it's something that like without question is being like projected onto you from like a really young age. And yeah, it's really just in order to achieve a certain like power dynamic of we're telling you what you are so that like you can't rise above us basically and be liberated to be your own self kind of.
But it seems like correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like you've been able to fully embrace your entire identity and like, through this album and beyond. How does it feel for you to break against some of those, norms or expectations from cis white society? Because it seems like you've been able to break through some of that, as you're talking about in this song, this simulation where, people are trying to dominate you or try to press upon you what they believe you should be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess my lyrics are more of an idealistic reality for myself. And so usually this happens where like, and this has been happening for like previous EPs too, where I'm kind of writing about problems that are on my mind or obstacles that I'm facing mentally and trying to work through them in my lyrics. But honestly, it takes a while for me to even like believe myself and kind of let that sink in. And so it's a long process for me of, setting this idealistic way of how I want to think through my identity and my problems and stuff. And it definitely takes a while to like put that actually in practice and project that to the outside world as well. Like it takes a certain amount of confidence, I feel like. And I think with anyone's like own journey to find themselves or to combat any mental obstacles, it's like a lot about identifying the problem first or the habit of thinking and continually reminding yourself as that habit keeps coming up, being able to like slowly believe yourself and trust yourself, I think.
I mean, do you feel like songwriting just helps you manifest? You be the person you want to be?
Yeah, honestly, I think it really does.
It's so beautiful.
It's like a promise that I'm like holding myself to. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I've been speaking to Miss Grit about their album, Follow the Cyborg. It is out now. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
I'll wake up pretending, then I'll wake up again. Leave my mouth wide open, then let her say the rest.
That was Sound and Vision. Please take a moment to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast, and consider giving a one-time $20 donation to help support this show at kexp.org/sound. Thanks for listening.